Welcome to Midlife Schmidlife, the online community for listeners who want to redefine the middle years and recreate their lives lived to the fullest. Join our host, Liz Applegate, as she interviews guests over the age of 40 who are turning their maybe somedays into today and going after their dreams. Let's get the party started.
Hey Schmidlifers, I'm your host Liz Applegate and welcome to episode 22 of the Midlife Schmidlife podcast. I am so happy to be back on the air and want to welcome all of my new listeners as well as those who are returning. Thank you so very much. Now before we move on to today's interview, I want to send a special shout out to all of the parents out there with recent high school graduates. I know this is the time of year that can be a mix of many emotions, from pride to grieving to happiness to sadness. I just want you to know that you're not alone. I've been there. Know that I'm sending you a lot of love and a lot of just light. And just know that whatever your experience is at this time, that it's okay. Maybe you are bursting into tears in the middle of Target like I did. Maybe you are just filled with happiness, and that's okay. Just know that this is such a time of transition to take care of yourself, to just recognize that there are many, many changes, and just know that my thoughts are with you. I know that you are going to love today's conversation with Sherry Trentini. Sherry is a mom of two daughters, one who actually just graduated from high school. She has lived in Canada, Europe, and Australia. In her mid-40s, she finished a Spartan Race because she's just a badass like that. But most important, she is a woman who follows her instincts for the betterment of her family. Sherry helps clients find space with a mixture of law of attraction life coaching, Feng Shui, and grief recovery. Not only is she multi-passionate, which I can totally relate to, Sherry has also used her own life experiences to help others, and that's something that I'm really passionate about. Sherry shares her story about suicide and grieving, and we also touch the meaning of what law of attraction means and how it can be used in your life. You can find all of the links that we talk about over at the show notes, which is midlifeschmidlife.com/22, and that's just the numbers 22. You will also be able to find a link to her latest course, the Life Reclamation Project Home. Now, this course walks you through the process of observing what literal things we surround ourselves with and what we are keeping in our lives, and also curating the contents to reflect what we value in both our inner and outer worlds. Now, this is especially helpful for my empty nesters out there or for the parents who have kids going off to college. This will be a great thing to read through and go through. It's been very, very helpful for me, and I think that you will really get a lot out of it. So again, you'll just head over to midlifeschmidlife.com/22. Now let's head on over to the interview. Hi, Sherry.
Hey, Liz. How are you?
I'm great. Welcome to 2017.
Well, I am so happy to be here and happy to be in 2017.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. It didn't roll off the tongue just yet.
Right. No, I know what you mean. And actually, welcome to season 2 of the Midlife Schmidlife podcast. Yay!
I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you are here as well. So this season, I'm going to start off each episode by asking my guests let me rephrase that question. How old are you, and what do you love about being this age?
Well, I am 48, and I did have to do the math because perhaps I've not known that number clearly. But the best part about being 48 is that I can see my kids grow. I guess it's not so much within, but it's what I get to see around me, the things that I have, brought into this world and have nurtured. And so that's probably the best gift.
Yeah, definitely. And don't you think as we get older, we tend to, especially in parenting, we tend to recognize what's more important, I think, as my
Absolutely.
kids have gotten older.
Absolutely.
I remember them being young and like fretting about the silliest things, oh, they're not eating their vegetables. And, somehow they all managed to, grow up without eating their broccoli. So
Exactly. I'm quick to say, and my kids would concur, that sometimes I'm just surprised.
yeah.
I'm just really, wow.
Oh yeah, me too.
Cool.
Exactly.
I've been in charge of you for 18 years, and this is awesome. Look at that.
This is really, yeah, look how great you turned out. That's always my thing. I'm always like, oh my gosh, how did I do this? Like, you turned out so well in spite of me. So
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. As we dislocate our shoulder, patting ourselves on the back.
Right. Right. Well, your story is really great because not only do you have a business that can help, I forgot to ask, do you work just with women or do you work with men and women?
Actually, I work primarily with women, but there are a few men in the mix.
Okay. So you can help people who are dealing with grief, and you have a very interesting combination of modalities that you use, but you also are a woman who went through her own transformation at 40 and on and kind of recreated your life. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm a life coach, and I do grief recovery work, and I do some Feng Shui. I used to work with the body for years. I have a very eclectic resume, if you'd like to put it that way. And the shift for me into doing what I'm doing now started before I turned 40, actually. I started doing back then it was a mail order course, before the advent of the internet.
Right.
To receive everything electronically, to be a life coach. But life interrupted. I was at home with young kids. I've stayed at home gratefully, a blessing for me to be able to stay home and be the mom number one or first since they were born. And however, during that time, they go back to school, they start, leaving my side a lot more. Then I started looking for something that would be fulfilling for me and something I could do from home and still be the caregiver. Mm-hmm. So I did start my life coaching training earlier on, but that got put to the side. Other things happened and so on and so forth. At the age of 40, there was a lot of big changes. And I had lost my husband to suicide. And of course, then my kids, they were 8 and 10 at the time, lost their dad. And so that was a very, a tragic time when you lose somebody, and the circumstances being what they were, but being, no matter what the circumstances are, it rattles you. It shakes up your world.
Right.
Then less than 6 months later, my own dad died, and my dad was my rock. He was my best friend, talked to him a number of times a week. And all of a sudden, the foundation just continued to tremor in a different way. Right. From then, I won't share, but in the details, but suffice to say that the following 6 weeks after my father's death, I lost 2 other family members. And so I had, you sort of come to that conclusion when you're in the hospital or wherever you are, when all this is happening around you, that life is short. Like you just don't know. And that's a cliche. And of course, people say that all the time, especially in the midst of something, of a crisis. But it was then that really propelled me forward to make a choice that I needed to choose to be happy, because sometimes life doesn't deliver that to you. And we have to find a way to sort of recover that lightness from grief or loss. Right. But that isn't always the easiest thing to do. And of course, then the choices you make as you're going through this process, you have a lot of input from a lot of people. Yes. And However, I'm one to just say thank you very much and do what I'm going to do anyways. And I'm really grateful for that, because what it led me to do is to follow my heart, and decided to take a really big risk and make a really big move, and enter into a world that was unbeknownst to me or my kids, by moving them to Europe and having an international experience, which was only supposed to be temporary, but it ended up being for over 4 years.
Right.
And every day I would just think to myself, this is so exceptional. What an exceptional experience. Part of my intention, or the part of the feeling of that, of cultivating happy and bringing happy into my kids' lives again, wasn't so much to take them away from everything that they've known, because that, of course, was the contrast.
Right.
All the people they've known, all the familiarity. But what was difficult too was that they maybe didn't feel that it was okay for them to be happy in situations, because that. And when we left, when we physically moved, it allowed for both things to happen, right? They could be genuinely happy, and they could be genuinely sad, and that was okay. In that time that we were there, we had so much changed. We had changed. Our attitudes changed. Our worlds expanded. And at the same time, we didn't lose sight, or we didn't lose connection with what we had, where we had come from, and who had supported us. But we also were pretty clear on being mindful about being present and being where we were.
Right. Right.
So we then moved around the globe again to Australia, and tried a different slant to this adventure, and stayed there for 2 years, and returned back to North America. Here we'll be in North America almost 3 years.
Okay. Wow.
So lots of changes, lots of things. And through that, we also sort of exposed a lot of different losses. You know, my kids have, they enjoyed the time that we were away. They had great experiences, but there's some grief, not only about, literal death, but about moving and about leaving friends, and about making new friends in that moving house, and all of those different things. Even though knowing that, or having an inkling of what that might be like for them, I still so grateful that I did it. So grateful that we made that choice, and so grateful that followed my heart, and that we have that, and we did that.
Right. I can't help but think about what a gift that was, actually, and I'm sure you received lots of input about that. I'm sure that you did. Yes. I can only imagine the input that I would have received, but still such a gift to give your daughters and yourself, to be able to just kind of remove from the situation and allow those feelings just to happen when they, to let happiness happen. And that was okay and totally acceptable. Where I could see, being in familiar surroundings, they may feel like, you as well, like I can't be happy. I'm not supposed to be happy with all of this. So,
well, and that was a real challenge. And what happened was awful.
Right. It was.
You live in a small community. Everybody knows.
Right.
You can't hide from that fact. Because of their ages, of course, there's conflicting information that they would hear at school, or comments, and none of it was truly meant to add to the difficulty. But it's just hard to sort of take a deep breath, right?
Right.
And again, my intention when doing that was not when we moved. And again, it was only originally to be for about 6 months, was to be able to sort of, step outside and take a deep breath. And just, just be who you are, grief and happy and, grumpy and all, all of those things, without having that sense, real or perceived, that, people were observing that. And that was okay. Right. So our time away, it brought up it may have brought up grief in a lot of different ways. We weren't in Europe very long when a student at the school that my eldest daughter attended died and in a self-made accident. And so that could have, we could have really gone down a vortex.
Yes.
And of course, because now it seems like, death, suicide, and all this kind of stuff is popping up all over the place. But what I did was I used it as an opportunity to talk about the potential why, mental illness around depression, all those types of things. And we were able to have an open conversation about it.
Right.
It's not dinner conversation.
Sure.
Friends, but it does allow for more conversation about, okay, when you're feeling this way, or if a friend is feeling this way, how best could you help them? Or what would you want? And, just sort of come up with some possibilities. The schoolmate was not close to my daughter, but of course it affected the entire school.
Sure.
And there's a stigmatism that kind of goes along with not necessarily being fatherless, but the suicide part of it.
Right.
So we've had a lot of conversations and a lot of opportunities to sort of, okay, how can we, we're not making it okay, but how can we sort of take away that stigmatism, if you will?
Right.
Still be, still love him and still have fond memories of him and still talk about him and tell stories.
Right.
Without it being sort of slanted because of how his life ended versus how he lived his life.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Gosh, kudos to you just on, I mean, I just have no words. Because we're on video. No, but I mean, you can't tell this when you're listening to a podcast, but Sherry and I are actually, we decided to turn on the cameras and have a face-to-face conversation, which I always enjoy. And I can tell you, I am looking at a very strong, powerful woman right now. So I just want my listeners to know and just want you to know that that's what I see. So
I'm grateful. Thank you very much.
Oh gosh. Yes.
You know what? It's everything that I have done for, predating that until now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For the good of my girls.
Yeah. Goodness. I know both of us are tearing up. And that's okay. That's what we do, right?
And the great part is that I wasn't worried about so much perfection, right? That the choices that I made from a place within, not from outside influences in that sense, right? It felt good. And I knew that there would be good coming from it. Did we have challenges? Absolutely. Was there a time that you wanted to, turn tail and go home? Sure. But when you look at the big picture in reflection, I would do it all again. Yeah. No question, no hesitation, none whatsoever.
Yeah, there's something there about just following that feeling that you have, right? I mean, just kind of shutting out what you think other people would say or do, or, all these rules that we have put on ourselves, and just going with that gut instinct of what is right for you and what is right for your family, and just doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, great lesson. So you took this time in your life, which was obviously filled with so much of picking up the pieces for you and your daughters, and really probably just kind of like relearning who you are, and then you took that your experiences, and then now you actually help clients through similar situations. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
When we returned to Canada, I had some ideas about continuing to work with the body, and I derive a great deal of joy, and I love the learning, and I love that whole process. I decided when we got back that I had the opportunity. My partner was settled into his job already, and I had the of course, getting the girls sorted, and the time of the year that we had arrived back, there was sort of a blip where they couldn't get into school just yet. It didn't make sense. There was very little time. So we had an extended vacation, if you will, before anything really got going, before we had a new routine or anything set up. So I decided that I would continue to sort of put my idea of having a studio to help people's bodies on hold a bit until we really found our groove or found our feet under us back in Canada. And gratefully I did, because some unexpected things had come up with some health issues with my girls, and that I was so grateful that I could give my full attention to that and find a way, work through that versus having to deal with a business, like a brick and mortar business to deal with as well. And when I looked at what else I could possibly do in order to find a way to contribute and do something fulfilling for myself, it came back, that little inkling, that little spark was still there about doing life coaching. And I found a program that I was really attracted to and dove right in and couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah.
What we also experienced is that returning to Canada brought up sort of a renewed sense of grief for my kids. So, and again, still uncharted territory. You're still figuring out as you go along. So I went online looking for support for them, how I could find something locally, or, who I could reach out to in our new community in order to get them the support that they needed. Because we had, we'd been away, we'd come back to visit, but now we were here, and just it brought a lot of things up. And their ages then were 15 and 13. So a whole bunch of other different things going on as well. And I came across the Grief Recovery Method or the Grief Recovery Institute. And I was so impressed with my conversation with them and the information that they had, because of how they look at grief and loss. They're not just talking about death, or they're not talking about divorce. And they're not talking, specifically very narrow-minded as to what maybe a lot of people perceive grief to be, but loss overall. So, my kids had to experience grief and loss from moving.
Right.
You can experience loss with, career changes or career loss, money changes, even an influx of money. Talk to some lottery winners.
Right.
Hard to deal with, or losing your money, maybe legal problems, empty nesters. That's another area where, you're in a big transition and you have that sense of loss and grief. And then they've identified over 40 life experiences, but some of the ones that I know I've been through, and it's not about ticking the boxes as to who's grieving more and who's had more experiences, but those intangibles like the loss of purpose, the loss of self, the loss of direction,
right?
Or the hopes and dreams that have been unrealized due to other life experiences.
I think you just described midlife.
Exactly. So as I'm going through their list, I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, that was me a couple years ago. So yeah, I get it.
Oh, I really appreciated how they looked at loss overall or grief and loss overall, and that they don't quantify. So, death might be on the top of the list of the bullet points, but that doesn't quantify it as being the greatest of losses. There's no measuring as to what your experience is, because everybody has a unique experience. So I was so impressed, I decided to take the training, probably with the intention to help my kids.
Right.
And, but of course, I also know the reverse side of that is that I have to be their mom first, not their counselor, not their coach, not their, whatever. I'm the cook and the cleaner, but there are some things that are better left to somebody else who's objective. So after I did the training for the Institute, it was so impressed, so overwhelmed, it it was quite an emotional experience. And I just couldn't wait to integrate this into what I was already trying to build with my coaching practice. Because when people are looking for coaching, chances are they have lost something. They've lost a connection to. They're looking for help. They're looking for, career support. They're looking for, relationship help, because they maybe, sometimes it's not so much looking for a partner, but maybe a reconnection with that relationship with themselves. And everything is relationships, right?
Yes. Right.
So this is, it's kind of tough. I tell people that I work with grief, and you get that,
Right. Right. And that was going to be my question to you is, do you find that can be triggering to you? That might, if that's a little personal, I understand, but
no, not at all. No, not at all. But the challenge is sort of giving people that broader look as to what grief is.
Right.
Because, I don't want to walk around saying, oh, you're grieving. Oh, you've had a loss, you're grieving. That's not the intention. But for us to rather, as a society and culturally, just have something to eat and you'll be okay. Or, stop passing time and just allowing people the opportunity to grieve whatever the loss is that they have, and also get the support to help them, move beyond that.
Right. So not numb out, but actually get the support that is needed. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this program, I feel, is incredibly effective in helping you to identify. You might be coming for one reason, but it also gives you an opportunity to take a look and maybe see some patterns throughout your life.
Yeah.
And, sort of give you a different perspective as to why something is affecting you the way it is, because perhaps there's been other similar events.
Right. And that is a great thing about life coaching, because, you always start speaking with a client about an issue, whatever it is they come to see you for. And then there's usually, and I would say 99.999%, there's something underneath all of that. Yeah. There's patterns, there's limiting beliefs, there's things that are keeping them stuck. There are inner critic conversations going on, all these things that are affecting other things in their life. So it's kind of like, once you crack that open and shine a light in there, it's kind of like, oh, wow, like I've got all this other stuff going on too. And I know that from my experience, and I'm sure I can speak for you as well, it's amazing when you watch a client just bloom, from that. So, and just be able to embrace their happiness and yeah, it's just amazing.
And further, what you said, I just shared that in my last newsletter to my list, in that the reason people seek out coaches, or not so much the reason people seek them out, but the reason why people are drawn to becoming a coach in whatever niche or capacity or program that they choose, it's because they've had some type of experience or they've gone through, they've, been the ups and downs, and want to, that adds value to them helping others in that same situation. And I'm no different.
Right. Right. Actually, you and I are very similar, because we had these life experiences. Mine was hitting, I went through my own grieving. I shared with you before we started recording, but I went through my own grieving when my kids were graduating high school, and it was really like someone pulled the rug out from under me. And I was totally unexpecting to feel the way that I felt. And I like to say that I basically buried myself in red wine and chocolate. And I mean, that was how I was numbing out, right? And then it was kind of like, okay, wait a minute. And so I took my experiences, and then just to be able to help my clients kind of transition from that place of, what does mom mean? What does mom mean now that my kids are, going to school 8 hours away, now living in Seattle, which is, a long way away from Texas. So, yeah, so just redefining who we are and So yeah, you're so right that coaches, become coaches because we've had this experience too, and just being able to help others.
I think also you had mentioned just in what you had said, we don't understand that transition or who are we now?
Mm-hmm.
I think often it's coming back to ourselves, right? It's sort of kind of reconnecting with who we are and what do we look like now? What is it that we want to learn? What do we want more in our life? What do we want to do different or better?
Right.
And that's often the case with grief. And that's part of what I do is generally whatever you've lost, you wanted something more. You wanted something better. You wanted something different. Or if it's a person in a divorce or end of a relationship or in a death or in any of those, you wanted them to have maybe done something more, or you to have done something more, better or different, said something. You were them. So it's all a relationship. And so when we are, as you said, there your kids are, off in different parts of the nation, and you're like, oh, now what?
Right.
Now what do I do?
Yeah.
We have forgotten because we've so engrossed in our normal that we sort of maybe have to, look back in the archives and see who it is that we were and how we can help others get back there.
Right. Kind of like, come on, come on out. It's great out here. It's okay. Right. I love that you mentioned other forms of grieving and grief, because I think that it's easy. And, we've kind of touched on some things where I was actually grieving without really realizing, without really naming it. And that is exactly what I was going through. And so you name some loss of job, loss of financial resources, those kinds of things. And it's kind of funny. What do you think? It's not funny. I'm not saying that came out incorrectly. It's funny that when you were naming off some of those things, and I kind of joked about how, that sounds like midlife. Do you feel like this is a time in, women's lives, men's lives at this time in our life that, grieving can be happening and without us really even knowing or realizing it?
Absolutely. I'm working on a project right now that was started by me buying a sample pot of paint. I had to, which prompted then painters, and, you sort of tear everything apart. And then as I'm putting things back together again, I realized that some of these things that I had displayed so nicely and had tucked away in my storage in my closet and so on, who has this? Who's the person who owns this?
That is funny. I can relate. Yes.
And just shaking my head going, oh my goodness, do gypsies live in my house? Because wow, what was I thinking? But I think what happens, or what I recognized in my own self, is that it's not so much the reflection in the mirror that I don't recognize, but it's some of the things that I've held on to from, that predate right now, that it's only now doesn't make sense as to why I've held on to them and why I'm keeping them. And what purpose are they serving? Are they serving to, remind me of who I used to be? Is it making me feel bad that I'm still not that person when I was, this age? And where would I rather be? Do I want to be looking forward, or do I want to be behind me? So absolutely, when there's that sort of transitional part, I know a lot of, for career changes. And as you said, children leaving the home, or, other sort of life experiences that may or may not have been on the radar. And then that can perpetuate so many other sort of loss experiences, right? The loss of purpose, the loss of, self, sometimes it feels like you just lost your mind, but it's okay. So now what?
Yes. Right. So before we get too far off of this, I do want to mention, because you shared with me before we started recording about a new e-course or a new program that you're starting, and this seems like a perfect time when we're talking about home furnishings and decluttering and all that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, sure. Thank you. I've been interested in Feng Shui since, I said how old I was. So since 19, I bought my first book in 1987.
Yay! Okay, readers, I'm getting her to admit her age on the podcast was huge. You guys don't know it, but you you all were.
My face is all red.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to create the opportunity for me to go train. I'll have to do the math on when that was.
That's okay.
A few years ago, to become a Feng Shui consultant. And it's always been an interest because there's that sense of when something feels good. And as I said, that $3 to $5 pot of paint that I bought and graffitied my wall to see what could happen has just set out, cracked open a whole bunch of things about, okay, here's an opportunity for me to, even people who like to declutter, and I've talked about decluttering a lot. I throw a lot of stuff out, or I pass it on, or I give it to charity, or do recycle it, or however. But here's an opportunity where I can upcycle what my life looks like. And that, I've been on this earth long enough that I know what feels good and what I want to have around me. And that, now doing it in a different, for a more conscious reason as to, okay, by letting this go, I'm letting this article go. How is that helping to create space for me? How can I reclaim something in my life, or simply just allow the space to be there, right? We don't often have to fill just because we've, cleared it.
Oh, there's a good metaphor in there, right? That can apply to so many things.
Agreed. And we have, at one time in our lives, and I learned this really clearly when we moved abroad, is that I left a very large house with very many contents, with cupboards and cupboards full of dishes and gadgets and platters and you name it, I had a cupboard for it.
Right.
And we moved to a very, very small space. Like we went, well over 3,000 square feet, well over, and went to maybe 500.
Oh, goodness.
And you know what? Just as happy, if not more.
Awesome.
Right?
Awesome. Yeah.
So that was a real big testament to living with less. I'm not a minimalist. I won't go there, though I support what they're doing.
Right.
But it's okay. And my mantra since coming back to Canada as well, we don't live that way anymore. Or we don't have space for that. So we really have to be more conscious about, what we bring into the house. And I have a big house here too, not that big. But really mindful and really conscious about what it is that we bring in and why are we doing so? What is it? How is it adding to how our house feels? So
this new e-course is about, I can't remember, I wrote it down and I'm sorry.
It's called the Reclamation Project.
That's what it is. Okay. Yes.
This portion is about home, and there's, 800 different, clear your clutter books out there. I probably read 780 of them, just for fun.
Right.
But I decided that this experience that I'm currently, in the process of going through would be valuable to share because I am, an avid declutterer, and I'm, the first one to, just let it go. But there is more to it. So I'm in this e-course that I'm putting together, which my intention is for it to be out relatively soon. It will be on my website. That it gives a different opportunity to let the things go from a different angle, maybe have some different perspectives, and give people, a different tool. The other decluttering books are brilliant, and they have served somebody and many, many people. And so we have to keep sharing how we do things, though the information might be very similar, but there might be something different that really twigs for somebody else.
Well, I'll be sure and have the links to your website in the show notes. And I know that I also shared it when I did an introduction to you so that people know where to find you. One thing that I love, because, we've talked about life coaching, and you are a law of attraction life coach. focus on grief recovery and Feng Shui. So I love these three things and how they all come together really. And just, I don't know, I just love how it all kind of fits together. I wonder if you ever saw it fitting together, or was it just something that was like, well, I like this and this and this, and wow, look at that, it does fit together. So
for me, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And sometimes I find myself over explaining what it is, but the essence of what I've done, when I worked with the body, my thing was about helping people to create space in their body, because most of the time they came because there's restriction, or there's, tight muscles, or there's this, or there's that. So I always use the language, creating space, like opening up so that you can move more easily and with ease. And so, but that also lended to the Feng Shui aspect, because it's not, again, Feng Shui is not just about coming into your house and, throw that out. It's not just about doing that, but it's about consciously arranging your home so that the energy flows and that there's space for the energy to flow. And that's part of that. As I say on my website, my intention is to help people to create space and bring balance by letting go of thoughts, things, or beliefs that are not serving who they are and who they're becoming. And all of that sort of wraps in together from what we're thinking about when it comes to law of attraction manifestation. That also applies to the grief component, depending on what it is that what we have lost in our life. And of course, all of those things they do, there's the common denominator. And I think it works well. I continue.
Yeah.
And it's an eclectic mix, but it feels good to me. So.
No, and I think it reflects you as a person too. And I think that actually is a great model, because anyone who's trying to start a business, it's always hard to narrow down to this, we're always told, narrow down to this one focus. And I love that you were able to take these parts of your life and different areas of focus and make them all work together. What's interesting is how well it does all flow togetger. So I love that whole umbrella. Yeah. Do you mind talking a little bit about law of attraction coaching? Sure. I know some people are not very familiar with it. Some people may have some misconceptions. And so I would just love to hear from you. I've done some studying in it, and I would just like to hear more about that from you.
Well, again, law of attraction is something that I have been studying since the late 80s.
Way back in a time we won't mention.
I know.
Time when shoulder pads were out and music was really good.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. We had a caller. I'd pop that up there.
That's right.
So my intention when I bought my first book of Feng Shui and everything else was that these were going to be transformative, right? That I was going to read this and Feng Shui, I was going to manifest the knight in shining armor and bags of money at my front door and all those types of things. But I started reading, my first book, I believe, was called Creative Visualization by Shakti Guan. And it talked about sort of the precept, if I remember correctly, about, seeing what you want to have happen and seeing how things are going to transpire and using that as your guide, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the big misconceptions of law of attraction is that there might be some who think that this is a nouveau woo-woo thing here in the last, 10, 15, 20 years even. Right. But this goes back years and years and years and years. Early 1900s, there were books being written about how your thoughts affect what you want to manifest, what your goals, and how the language that you use and all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. So this is not a new fandangled, idea. This has been around for a long time. When I mentioned before about I created the opportunity to go to San Diego to do training for Feng Shui, I used law of attraction. Being a stay-at-home mom, we had a business, we had a mortgage, we had all these things. For me to just jump on an airplane and go to San Diego, pay for my training, and stay there for, the 8 days or whatever it was, right, that was really going to impact our household. Mm-hmm. And that might have been a belief of mine as well. But I wanted it to be easy. Mm-hmm. So I had it in my mind that I was going to manifest money, and I didn't work outside of the house. My husband was working at our business, so there's no extra there. And so I had set an intention. I had done some alignment, and basically it's ask, believe, and be open to receive. Mm-hmm. So I asked that I wanted to receive my unexpected money. Mm-hmm. And I could see my face when I got that money. I could see my putting the money into the bank and knowing that I had that money and that it wasn't going to be an impact on my household and so on and so forth. And so I lived in an acreage in a rural area. Not a lot of people just popping in and knocking on the door.
And not offering you money or plane tickets to fly to San Diego?
Or doing any of those things. Weird, right?
Right.
I had told my friend, a close friend of mine, that I was going to, and I talked as if I was going. I'm going to San Diego. I'm taking this training. Going to feng shui the world. Everything's great. And so I get a knock on my door, and it's a movie crew. And they were filming, they were location scouting, and they decided on a couple areas close by to where I was, and asked if I'd be interested in renting my garage.
Oh my gosh.
My yard for the use for 2 days. And I'm like, well, sure. And I didn't expect them to, I had no money or dollar figure in my head. That I was just, yeah, of course. Yeah, you can use it. So I received an unexpected check for, I think it was $500 or $600, which at that time was a big part of what I needed in order to go and feel ease about going and doing this training.
Wow.
So there's one little manifesting story that still gives me a bit of a thrill when I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm sure that look on my face was right there. Oh.
Right. Right. Exactly. So, manifesting, that to me it's so intriguing. And then there's this skeptical side of me. I mean, I'll be straight up honest about that. So can you speak more into that? Because I'm sure that you have to run, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, right?
Absolutely. Most of the people that I work with now have a basis in law of attraction. They already have a belief system in place, and I don't have to convince them that it's true. However, I talk about this with a lot of people who absolutely and want to have more sort of feedback and more sort of clarity as to why this could be possible. Case in point. I want a pizza. So if I want a pizza, I'll just think that I want to have a pizza, and then in 5 minutes or in 20 minutes, my doorbell should ring.
Yeah.
Poof, the law of attraction has manifested me.
It doesn't work that way.
It does not.
All right, I'm out. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. So part of what how I want people to look at law of attraction is that it's adding energy to whatever goal that you want to achieve, right? Mm-hmm. We've been setting goals for hundreds and hundreds of years. So I'm sure you set goals, right? And you've maybe created a vision board, or you have maybe journaled about something. And when we start really adding energy to those thoughts and feelings, and then that it feels so good, I can't wait till I receive or do or whatever. Often then we're inspired, that energy that sort of propels that gets us closer and closer to whatever it is that we want to manifest. And a goal is essentially a manifestation. So when you really spend a lot of concentrated energy on wanting to bring that goal, get closer to your goal, then often you might find yourself connecting with people that might help you get even closer, or come across something that will help support you getting there closer. So do you see what I mean? Maybe to say that your vision or that your openness to receive is a bit broader, and that these things just seem to drop into your lap. Oh my gosh, but really that's the working of, because that is what you're looking for. Your energy of wanting that is out looking to get you those things.
So you're not exactly just sitting around expecting them to just fall from the sky.
Right.
But actually the energy could also involve you just being intentional about taking action. I mean, from what I'm hearing you say, I mean, yes, the camera crew knocked on your door, but you were open to having strange people walk around your property.
Right. And I was also open to receive this money for it to come from however it came. I didn't say I'm going to buy a lottery ticket and I'm going to win $500 or I'm going to win $5 million. Right. Mm-hmm. That is not giving the infinite universe or God or whatever word that you feel most comfortable with using. You're taking away the flexibility and the creativity of however it comes to you.
Yes. Right.
When we receive goals or when we achieve something, often the path is not linear. Right.
Right. Never is.
It can be quite scribbly, right? Mm-hmm. But it's maintaining that alignment with that goal. Like, what is that intention? How does that feel? How does that make you feel? And often people, with the resolutions that people may or may not have made at the beginning of the year, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm going to, go to the gym 5 times a week and I'm going to, eat celery only and all of these things in order to those are action steps in order to lose 20 pounds or whatever the magic number is. However, is that effective? Absolutely. Is it sustainable? No. But when we sort of use, again, different language, craft a real clear vision as to what our life looks like when we're 20 pounds lighter. What does that mean for us? Does that mean, I don't know. How does that feel in your body? What does that look like? Maybe that 20 pounds, maybe the going to the gym 5 times a week doesn't really suit your schedule. But maybe that means you take the stairs after lunch to go to your office, right? So it doesn't have to be a calculated action. It can just, I'm going to take the stairs. Or I'm going to park at the furthest end of the parking lot and I'm able-bodied and, get some fresh air and so forth.
Yeah.
So there's more of an ease about achieving what it is that you want to achieve.
So. Yeah, I really like that. My wheels are actually turning, just thinking about a lot of things here. So just, I think to me that just the whole manifest, I'm using air quotes here, manifesting, I think that's thrown around a lot and it sounds very, it does sound like you're just sitting there and something drops out of the sky. But what I hear you say is that there is a lot of action and just being open to, having a goal, but then being open to and putting the energy toward reaching that and being open to whatever the energy brings to you. I mean, whatever door opens, it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, I can walk through here and that will bring me closer to my goal.
Yeah. Different opportunities, as you're building your business. How would what business goals do you have? Some of them you might feel really good about, changing the format of your podcast. And then it feels easy,
right?
And then there might be other goals that you've created for yourself that don't feel so good. So those are the ones that are going to be work. And the whole idea of leveraging the law of attraction is for there to be ease, right? That it should feel like you're sitting on the couch waiting for the pizza to arrive that you didn't fall for.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. No, thank you. That really opened my eyes to all of it. So it's very interesting. And I love, actually, I can see how this can weave with you working with, your grief support and how you can help people visualize a life that is beyond that and how to get from this place to that place. Yeah. And so, we kind of touched base a little bit. We were talking earlier about people in midlife. Do you have a couple pointers maybe you can give to people? Like maybe they're going through this time of not knowing what's next or feeling like they are possibly going through some grieving. Just something that maybe our listeners would love to learn from you?
We are accessible to so many people who, like us, put ourselves out there to be of support, to be of guidance, to be of, the coach. So often what I have said to maybe people in my inner circle that I wouldn't volunteer to be their coach, just their friend.
Mm-hmm.
But finding that person, that counselor, the coach, the whatever it is, for objectivity,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
That is one of the biggest things. We can, yourself, when you were going through your stuff, probably had a group of friends who were in similar situations, maybe experiencing it at different levels, or different degrees, but you talk to each other and, you sort of, sometimes that might help to alleviate what you're feeling, but it also might help to perpetuate or grow what you're feeling because, I didn't think of that.
Right.
Right. So sometimes that can be a catch-22. Not that I'm saying don't talk to your friends, absolutely do, but make sure that you also have somebody that you can feel yourself with and be authentic with and tell the truth of what it is that you're feeling and have somebody receive that and then help you, work from that point.
Right.
People are so accessible. You don't have to go anywhere. You can do everything on your computer.
Right.
The ease of access, it's just allowing yourself and giving yourself permission to get support and get help.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's really big, the whole permission part, because I feel like a lot of times, especially women, I feel like we have to do it all ourselves. We feel like we have to take care of our family and our homes and our children, and then also carry this burden of these unexpected feelings that we don't even realize what we're going through. And permission to seek the help, I think, is really big, even if we can't identify it. I think because I don't think until looking back, and in fact, I think about it in the midst of all my unraveling, is what I call it. I did not really see it as grieving, and it wasn't until I could take a couple steps forward through that process that I could look back and say, "Oh my gosh, I've been actually grieving." So I think just knowing that something's going on, something isn't right, something is heavier. The backpacks we carry are full of rocks. So and I can't.
Too.
Yeah, I do too. So and you can't identify what those rocks are. So I think just giving yourself permission is big. So.
The other thing too is I think is following your intuition, right? And that I think is a big one because you're, as I said, is, something happens and all of a sudden you're getting all this feedback and input. And when you can't hear your own thoughts, that's when things can really, feel like they're going off the rails. So again, whether it's permission-based or not, but to find that opportunity to just, block out everything else, whether it's through meditation or through yoga or through, exercise or through a walk around the block, just to quiet the voices in your head and also the ones that might be coming out around you. Oh, you should do this. You should do that. Oh, you should do that. Oh, I don't have to tell you what the voices are saying.
Yeah, we've all heard them. We've all heard them in one way or another. So, yes, either it's an internal voice that you're telling yourself, or there's outside opinions that are coming towards you. So, yeah.
So giving yourself the opportunity to just be quiet and, tune in, tune out, right? And what feels good? What would create some possibilities? What would it feel like if I, or, be open to asking questions rather than looking for answers all the time.
Yeah. That's really good. And I just had a thought of when you said that, it's so many times we don't allow ourselves to slow down and to really be quiet.
we're constantly trying to, it's almost uncomfortable, right? That silence is uncomfortable. And so we feel like we have to be doing something. We have to turn on the TV, or we have to be doing something, this busyness kind of thing, and just allowing ourselves to be is so important, I think, in any healing.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, self-care would be my third thing. Right. And that goes above and beyond the listening and being quiet or tuning out and tuning in, is that, what is it that you need right now? Do you need a hug? Do you need a massage? What would help to fill you? Maybe not in the way that fixes whatever is going on, but what would empower you? What would give you strength to do any of the other two things that I just mentioned? Right.
Yeah.
To pick up the phone, or to click, make an appointment, or whatever that is. And each person has a sense. We may have forgotten. We may have sort of stepped away with what our self-care and what our self-love looks and feel like, because, as you said, from a mom standpoint, I don't have time for that.
Right.
But, again, I'll use the cliche from every airline that you go on, if you're traveling with somebody who needs assistance, put your own air mask on first.
Yes.
It's been said to death, but truly, it's pretty practical advice.
Truly, yes. Truly, it is some of the best advice that, spans across so many situations. So, yes. Yes. Well, Sherry, it has been so great having this conversation with you, and I thank you so very much. I will have all the links to everything in the show notes, and I know that my listeners have just really connected with you, and I thank you for sharing your story with us and the ways that you can help people and people experiencing loss and grief. And so it's just been wonderful. So thank you.
I am so grateful, Liz. You are beautiful, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to have a chat with you. This just having a chat.
It was wonderful. It was. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining Liz for the Midlife Schmidlife podcast. Remember, some days are never on your calendar until you put them there. Until next time.